Today's lesson is to find the 6 trig functions in restricted conditions. Let's go to guided practice. According to the given information, we will decide the quadrant. Let's look at the quadrant here. We know this rule. All students take calculus. So for sine, cosine, and a tangent, all these 3 are positive in the first quadrant. Only sine is positive in the second quadrant. Only tangent is positive in third quadrant. Only cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. So when we talk about all t, which means tangent is positive in first and then the third quadrant. In other words, for this SC, the tangent will be negative. So for all S, which means sine is positive in first and the second quadrant. In other words, for this TC quadrant, sine will be negative. Same thing to the cosine. All C means the cosine is positive in these 2 quadrants. In other words, for ST quadrant, cosine will be negative. For the first one, sine theta greater than 0, cosine theta less than 0, which means the sine is positive and a cosine is negative. All S means sine is positive for these 2 quadrants. Cosine is negative. All C means cosine positive. So ST, which means cosine is negative. So for second quadrant, we got 2 tracks, which means the second quadrant will be the answer. Look at the second one. Secant theta greater than 0. The reciprocal for secant is cosine. In other words, we know cosine is positive. Tangent is positive. Cosine is positive, that means all C. Tangent positive means all T. So we get the first quadrant will be the answer. Let's go to next one. Cosine theta less than 0. Cosine is negative. That means these 2. And a cotangent is positive. Cotangent reciprocal will be a tangent, which means a tangent is positive. So we have all T. So we get the third quadrant here. Last one. Secant theta less than 0. Reciprocal will be sine theta less than 0. So we have TC. Cosine theta less than 0. So we have ST. For cosine is negative. So we get the third quadrant. Let's go to example. Find the exact values of the 5 remaining trigonometric functions of theta. You are given secant theta equals square root of 3. Whenever you get minor trigonometry, you will change into major trigonometry, which means reciprocal of secant theta, that is cosine theta, equals 1 over square root of 3. As we know, 1 over square root of a equals square root of a over a. So we get square root of 3 over 3. We know this cosine theta greater than 0 and a cotangent theta less than 0, which means the tangent theta less than 0. So we will draw this. All students take calculus. For cosine is a positive, that means all C. Tangent is negative, which means SC. So we figure out this is a quadrant 4. For the quadrant 4, we will write down CST, cosine, sine, and a tangent. For the fourth quadrant, only cosine is a positive. The other two must be negative. Let's recall this one. We have a sine theta equals plus or minus the square root 1 minus cosine square theta. For cosine theta equals plus or minus the square root 1 minus sine square theta. Therefore, for this cosine theta, I can get sine theta. Since sine theta is a negative, so you get the negative square root 1 minus square root of 3 over 3 square. Square root of 3 over 3 square, that is 3 over 9. So you get the 1 over 3. So we get negative square root 1 minus 1 over 3. 1 minus 1 over 3, this 1 we can count as a 3 over 3, so that you will get a 2 over 3. So we get here equals square root 2 over 3. Then we will separate, because here is the formula. If we have a square root a over b, which means the square root of a over square root of b. So we separate, you will get the negative square root of 2 over square root of 3. Then simplify. This square root of 3, we will turn into square root of 3 over 3. Carry on this negative square root of 2, do the multiplication. You will get the negative square root of 6 over 3. Now we can get the tangent theta equals sine theta over cosine theta. So you will get negative square root of 6 over 3. Then cosine theta will be square root of 3 over 3. Since this is a complex fraction, the same denominator will be reduced. So you get negative square root of 6 over square root of 3. Since both in the square root, so we can reduce. This is 1, here is 2. So you get the negative square root of 2. Then we will use Trig reciprocal identities to figure out cosecant theta and cotangent theta. We know the sine theta equals negative 6 over 3. We will get cosecant theta equals. Which one you need to flip? Try to flip the easy one. See, over here, this is the easy one. So you get negative square root of 3 over square root of 2. Simplify. Square root of 2 over 2, then negative square root of 3, carry on. Your answer equals negative square root of 6 over 2. For cotangent theta, will be from here. Cotangent theta equals negative square root of 2 over 2. When you do the reciprocal of negative square root of 2, you will get the negative square root of 2 over 2.